All right, so this is chapter 17, part B from the Green Ember. Pickett winced again at the pain shooting through his foot, but he tried to conceal it. What would it be like if he'd been hurt like this at home? Father would have carried him to his bed. Mother would have fussed over him for days, and Heather would have. Oh, but Heather was right here by him. At least there was that. A ray of light in a dark cave. Baby Jack's father and mother were gone, but he still had his sister. He looked at her, a smile forming on his lips. But she was looking at Smalls. The ray of light went dark and he slumped. It was in this dark frame of mind that Pickett first saw someone in the corner, a tall black rabbit. Another rabbit was walking toward him, courage showing on his face. May I sit down? The approaching rabbit asked. The black rabbit said nothing, only looked up from his soup for a moment, stared coldly at the friendly rabbit, then went back to eating. The friendly rabbit walked away dejected. Pickett was impressed right away by how physically imposing the black rabbit was, but Pickett also felt a kinship in his furious loneliness. It was exactly how Pickett felt. If he could wordlessly push everyone around him away, he would. How are you holding up, Pickett? Uncle Wilfred asked. Fine. Smalls took the room in, a smile on his lips. Emmett appeared in a corner of the room with a tray bearing 4 bowls of soup. Pickett's mouth watered. Here you are, friends, Emma said, serving them. Slurpy thanks were said as the 4 hungry travelers dove into their bowls. Emma smiled at them, then at Gort, who was hovering not too far away. Emma raised her hand and mimed clapping for Gort. He looked down, trying not to smile. The contented sighs and quickly emptied bowls seemed to serve Gort the same way the meal was serving the weary 4. He beamed. Bread was brought along with refilled bowls of soup. Pickett tried to decipher the ingredients of the soup, but knew they included mushrooms, potatoes, and carrots. He could go no farther. It was the best thing he had ever eaten, and he had never needed to eat so badly. Uncle Wilfred and Smalls, after eating a few bowls, removed to a corner to talk privately with Lord Rake. The 3 younger rabbits ate in silence, though occasionally Emma had a question for them about where they came from. Then a group of young rabbits about Heather's age or older entered the room. There were 5 of them, and their leader was a tall, handsome rabbit of a strange and familiar color. He was gray and gold, kind of like Pickett, a rare coloring. He was taller than Pickett, however, and his attitude was definitely different. The others seemed to defer to him, copying his walk and exuberant manner. The tall rabbit easily swiped a long slice of bread, whipping it casually to an accomplice while he mesmerized Gort with a joke. While Gort wheezed, a few more items were pilfered from the food line. They left Gort, and noticing Pickett and Heather came sauntering over. I'll catch up with you at the well, Genius, the tall one said to his 4 friends. They nodded and left. Poisoning the well tonight, Kyle? Emma asked. That would get you some attention since you're so desperate for it. Great to see you too, Emma, said Kyle. Not poisoning the well, just going to throw somebody down it. Great, said Emma. That's an escalation even of your already profound immaturity. We're just going to teach somebody a lesson, that's all, said Kyle. Won't you introduce us to your new friends? I probably shouldn't, she said. I'm Heather, said Heather, shaking hands with Kyle, and this is my brother Pickett. Pickett just waved. Kyle's the name, the game is, well, it's all a game, he said, bowing slightly. At your service. If you need information on arrival, mishap on your masters, escape from your duties, or are looking for a reckless ramble, I'm your rabbit. Go on, you rascal, said Emma, shooing him away. Nice to meet you, Kyle, Heather said, smiling. Hey, Kyle said, catching Pickett's eye, don't let this crummy place get you down. There's ways to have some fun here. He winked at Pickett, bowing slightly to Heather and Emma, did a smooth shuffle dance down toward the door, and walked slowly away, bobbing as he went. He stopped and chatted with Pacer, Lord Rake's lieutenant, casting sideways glances back at Heather and Pickett. Soon Pacer was smiling and whispering back. Bowing to Pacer, then clapping him on the back, Kyle headed for the door with one backward glance their way. Sounds like a real sweetheart, Heather said, giggling. Everyone he talks to breaks out in a smile, except Pickett, of course. 'Cause I'm not a silly rabbit, said Pickett. No, you're a very mature grown-up, that's for sure, she said, frowning. He's charming, true, said Emma, but he's also wily, arrogant, mischievous, and self-centered. Other than that, he's fine. Sounds terrific, Pickett said absently. He's actually pretty harmless, I think, said Emma, just cocky and restless, but there's something about him. Smalls and Uncle Wilfred made their way back to the table, resuming their meal. They tried to act normally, but were clearly troubled by their talk with Lord Rake. Their silence was heavy with questions. When they'd all eaten their fill, Pickett felt more exhausted than he could ever remember. He yawned loudly. It spread to Heather, and she also yawned, apologizing afterwards. But then it couldn't be helped. Smalls and Uncle Wilfred yawned as well, and soon they were all blinking as the room grew dark. Lord Rake crossed to their table. You'll need rest, of course, he said. Emma will show you to your rooms. My friends, there's much more to this place, our cloud mountains, than you've seen. Please know you're welcome here as long as you'd like to stay. I hope you'll decide to join our community. I speak for the entire council when I say you are most welcome here. That's so kind, said Heather, and Pickett bowed. Are you the Lord here? Heather asked. I am, Lord Rake replied, but I answer to the council. We are all loyal to the fallen and future king. Who's that? Asked Heather. Well, King Jupiter's dead, Heather, he said sadly, but we remember what he built, and we look for his heir to rise and recover what's been lost. He absently fingered the crest on his chest, a red diamond alongside a green diamond. Then we're in the right place, I think, said Heather, bowing. You are, he said, laying his hand gently on her head. I'm sorry that answers will come a little slowly here. So that we might be as free as possible, we live under certain laws. An important but frustrating one is the law of initiates. You will be initiated into this community, but there's a trial period before anyone is allowed to give you very much information. I beg your pardon for this, as I'm certain it is frustrating, but I assure you it is a law of good cause and consequence. We're all bound to it. Now, you must be exhausted. Emma bowed quickly to Lord Rake and said, If you'll follow me, my friends. We'll talk more later, Uncle Wilfred said to Lord Rake. Then quietly, so no one else could hear. I didn't know he was here, he said, nodding over to the corner where the black rabbit pouted. We'll talk about it, Lord Rake whispered back. Then louder he said, I'll wake you if there's trouble. My scouts are in the forest. I know it's very important to keep this place safe, Lord Rake said Small. If we need to go, we will. Lord Rake nodded his acknowledgement, and they followed Emma to the passage in the corner. Where does this cave lead down to? Asked Heather. Oh, not down, said Emma. It leads up. Up? Asked Heather. Yes, up and up. What is this place? Heather asked as they reached this doorway. Well, said Emma, turning to face them all and raising both her hands as if to indicate all around them, this is a seed of a new world. Small smiled at Uncle Wilfred. Heather and Pickett wore puzzled expressions. Emma went on. We are the heralds of the mended world.